My conservative stepdad says, "Isn't that a gay neighborhood?" I replied, "What are they going to do? Break in and redecorate?" Ex-homophobes, what made you change your views? Not me, but my partner's father. He is a Chinese immigrant who is relatively conservative and did not react well to his son's, my partner, coming out. He partially came to terms with it, but when I came into the picture he was convinced I was a white devil only with his son for the money, who is a pharmacist. 2 years later his wife died and he moved in with us. I know, he latched onto me emotionally because his son is emotionally distant and we now get along famously, and him and my grandpa are best friends now. They go ice fishing. He also loves my cooking aside from constantly reminding me white people eat too much butter. Was taught that gay people were literally Satan's spawn. Brother came out. He didn't seem like Satan's spawn to me. Reevaluated what I had been told, and now here we are. I used to be very much against homosexuality at the time. I was working at Walmart at the time and I met the backroom manager, and he was the smartest guy working at that Walmart. He knew more about the job positions above him than the people who had them. Anytime anyone had a problem, they would ask him, and 95% of the time he knew how to fix it. I think at one point he had to teach the store manager how to use a specific program on the hand terminal. And overall a really cool dude that no one in the store had a problem with, and he got along with everyone else. One day while I was doing inventory, I turned around to see him kiss his boyfriend. It was kinda shocking to me because him being gay didn't make sense to me. I grew up under the impression that homosexuals were dirty and filthy people with no morals, and this didn't describe this guy at all. So I thought about for a couple of days and came to a conclusion. I realized that homosexuals are the same as me and they aren't anything what I've been taught growing up. I no longer judge people on their sexuality but purely by their character now. Thanks to this man, I've also grown to respect other people in my life as well. I want to make sure that people fully understand me and know where I come from. I am a Christian and I believe what the Bible says, but I change my views from homosexuals are sinful to a better understanding of what Christianity is about. The Bible tells us that Jesus died and sacrificed himself for us and did it for believers and non-believers, straight and gay, and if he can do that, maybe I can do my best in this life to follow him and try to love the people he loves. I struggle between these two things. The Bible does speak against homosexuality, but it says also to care for others like Jesus did. To choose one side is to reject the other, and I don't know how to feel about this sometimes. I am an Indian, and the awareness level about homosexuality used to be very low. They are literally just stereotypical joke characters in Bollywood. My parents were not even aware that there is a difference between eunuchs and homosexuals. I got to learn about them through X-Men. Grew up Mormon, wrote some anti-gay papers in college and realized their arguments were only based on religion because I couldn't find any strong logical references. Eventually decided that my belief in freedom of religion meant freedom to not be that religion, and I shouldn't force my belief system on others. Slowly became agnostic as I continued to think and talk to people, but meeting gay people and being friends is what really solidified my new opinions. First gay dude I met was some weirdo in high school who told everyone I turned him gay after he saw me at swim practice freshman year, and it really bothered me. I eventually met many nice and normal homosexual people since then. While I was not mean to gay people, I was raised with the idea that they were wrong and that heaven would not be in their future. But two things changed my perspective and made me see that I was incorrect. Firstly, like most people here, I got a chance to interact with people who were gay when I went to college. When I made a friend or acquaintance, we would talk and interact casually, and over time, I learned about who they were attracted to. This opened my eyes to not judging people on my preconceived notions on who is right and wrong, and instead taught me to actually know the person and judge their character after getting to know them. While at the beginning it weirded me out, as I was still learning, I eventually got over the stigma and began to care less and less on who they decided to sleep with, as that was never any of my business. During this time, I had another revelation that helped me see how wrong I used to be. I'm Hispanic and my ex-wife was white. On a couple of occasions, we were met with some backlash by older white people who did not agree with interracial couples. This was around 2010 and the topic of gay marriage was heating up. I remember thinking of my situation, and how if some people got their way, I could not be in the marriage I was in at the time. I then applied that to same-sex couples going through what I dreading going through and realized that their marriage was not a threat to anyone and they just wanted to do their own thing without restrictions or prejudice. This time was my enlightenment, and since then I have done my best to make sure no one feels singled out by me based on how they choose to love. Was a young child. Parents were like, they bad, and I'm like, cool, they bad eventually. After a couple years not actually being bothered by the gays as my mother puts it, I was like, but why are they bad? And my mom is like, cause they icky, and I'm like, I've never seen you brush your teeth, and that is icky. All uphill from there. Met gay people, spent 4 years of college 500 miles away from my hyper-funny dad who raised me in some wacky beliefs, like, young earth, Catholics are actually Satanists, the world is ending within 20 years, a literal dragon will rise from the seas to devour the wicked, and Christians will be slaughtered en masse by the US government. 4 years away from that at a liberal school. It took all 4 years, but I pulled my head out of my butt. I'm in my late 50s and was raised by very conservative far right-wing parents, so homophobia was pretty much baked into my psyche. My wife's openness to gays and my own exposure to gays, especially the couple who bought the home next to ours, were what made me realize my old beliefs were wrong. Someone replied, yeah, that's pretty much what happened with my dad. He's 85 and didn't actually know homosexuality was a thing until he was 21, and I think that's only because someone he knew was arrested for it. He met my mum when he was in his 50s, and she was a 30-something priest who was passionately fighting for gay rights within the church, something that had kicked up massively in the 80s. They started going out and getting serious, and one day she mentioned that one of her male friends had a new boyfriend and how happy she was for him. My dad, obviously being told most of his life that not only was homosexuality wrong but it was at one point so wrong it was illegal, reacted with some disgust. At which point, my mother informed him that he either educated himself on the LGBT community, or she'd leave him, using the excuse that in the event any future child of theirs turned out to be gay, she would unhesitatingly choose the child over my dad, so she needed to know then to save everyone the potential heartbreak. He still says he doesn't understand it, but as long as people are happy it's all good. I was moving into a rental house with my girlfriend and another couple in a trendy neighborhood in my city. I was discussing the move with my conservative stepdad and he says something like, why are you moving there? Isn't that a gay neighborhood? Without missing a beat, I replied, what are they going to do? Break in and redecorate. In the moment I realized that I really didn't have a reason not to like being around the LGBT community. It's not like they would try to convert me. That's more of a religious and conservative attitude. The house was amazing. The couple that I moved in with got married and I found my wife because of the move. No gays broke in to redecorate, though. That was disappointing. I used to be like, it's wrong because it's not natural. If it was natural you'd be able to procreate. Then a coworker was like, well, my wife and I choose not to procreate. Does that make us unnatural? And I'm like, no, you're good. And he said, what about infertile people who can't have children? Are they unnatural? And I'm like, well, they didn't choose to be infertile. And he said, well, what makes you think gays would choose to be gay if it's so much harder to live like that? And I went silent and now my wife and I are infertile as hell. Well, I got over my own issues after sexual abuse as a child and eventually made a gay friend. He's one of the best dudes I've ever known. When my daughter's mom lost her car due to the flooding a couple of years ago and only got $500 back on the insurance because, well, it was a bit of a pig, he gave her a car. He had the 2002 Chevy something or other. I'm not a car person. That he didn't need it but just hadn't gotten around to selling. That was very cool. We don't see each other as much I'd like these days though, separated by distance and life. He taught me a lot about the culture and lifestyle, happily answered my shy questions about how they dealt with poop and stuff, and he explained away any remaining fears in a way that I could understand. Steven, do you have women everywhere trying to sleep with you all the time? No. Mark, no, I do not. So why would you be worried that gay men would for some reason be breaking down your door to sleep with you? You're not any prettier to us. Get over yourself. Thanks, Mark. And there are those times when I poop out a monster log, one of those solid 9-inch long pillars. I didn't think that beast could ever possibly fit into and through that little opening, but it did. And I am proud of myself, because I can admit that the passage of that leviathan through my nether regions did not feel unpleasant. It was an intimate moment. I realized I was gay. Maybe some weird internalized stuff, but I basically just agreed with whatever my Christian mom said before I turned 11 and realized Felicia Day was smoking. Part of it was also getting access to the internet and meeting a bunch of similarly aged friends who all already knew that there was nothing wrong with being gay. I'm forever grateful to the internet for giving me this. I don't know how I would have dealt with myself if I'd realized I was gay, while I still thought all homosexuals would go to hell. My family is more like casually homophobic. They would sometimes make remarks about how it's disgusting, and they would go to hell. They said the same thing about black people, and Jews were of course the ultimate evil. Once I started to think for myself, I realized that their reasoning didn't add up. Men weren't better than women. No black person has ever harmed me, and one of my best friends was Jewish. Made me think about what else they were bullcrapping me about, and after a little bit of thinking, came to the conclusion that being gay is completely fine. Also, having been born in a country where being gay will literally get you killed, the whole they choose it BS didn't make any sense. I would never willfully choose something that could get me disowned, abused or murdered. Why would they? So yeah, by the time I was 12, I was an atheist and didn't believe in any of the religious and cultural crap they had tried to feed me. I used to be surrounded by people that were, for the most part, very conservative. A constant barrage of negativity, including homophobic viewpoints. One night at my favorite watering hole, the subject turned to gay marriage and how it would be a detriment to society. The usual exaggerated BS. I'd had enough. I decided to challenge the kingpin of the bar. I looked at him and said, "What changed in your life the 31st of March 2001? Of course he thought I was an idiot. I said it again. He again thought I was an idiot. I said, "You can't answer because nothing has changed for you since that day. That's the day my wife and I got married, and if that guy over there and that other guy over there got married tomorrow, it won't change your life either." Silence. Watched a kid get the hell beaten out of him by some kids I knew in high school, for no reason other than he was gay. Didn't stop it out of fear and wish I had a time machine to go back and stop it. Every time it crosses my mind. Never associated with the kids again and immediately began re-evaluating who I was and my belief system. Came out as trans this year and have been an active part in the LGBT community, where I live for the last decade. The comment of the day is from Sinistral Rifleman. Rifleman wrote, "The friend zone is filled with enemies." That's deep. Think about it, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of How to Be Tolerant. Hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment about the video's subject. Maybe it'll be the next comment of the day. And also, let me know what you think Rifleman means.